I saw a snail crawling along the edge of a straight razor and surviving. All right, it's a little loud. We've got the morning dog feeding going on. It's almost 9 o'clock in the morning, but it's raining outside, and so it's very dark. So sorry for that. And so you'll hear the dogs going crazy, and Sister Kate say it's time to EAT and all that in the background. Couple things I want to talk about this morning. A little bit of a jumble. World sit-reppy kind of things. The first and probably most obvious at this point is Turkey, Syria, Kurds, Trump, ISIS. Whew. I'm of so many minds on this. Number one, I do not think we should have tried to overthrow Assad in Syria. He's not our friend, but he's not our enemy. He's Israel's enemy, for sure. It is an Iranian proxy state of sorts. They're very propped up by Iran. But we decided we were going to overthrow him. It's been going on for a while now. And at first, even though I was against it, I was like, okay, this is a... can I make this less looking up at me? I'm not trying to be that guy. There, how's that? Is that better? I thought it may be a greater part of a greater strategy where we take out Syria and then go for Iran. I am not opposed for removing the government in Iran because I do think they pose us a threat. They pose Israel a greater threat, but I do think Iran poses the civilized world a threat. I should do a video like this for YouTube. It'd get a bazillion hits just because I mentioned Israel and Iran. But, so I thought, okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's what they're doing. But I'm the guy who says if we commit military force, we ought to kill people, break things, and make people cry that we've come. When you commit the military, we should go kill people. That's my opinion on the military. And clearly we didn't do that. Now, it was great as far as, ops go for special forces. There was a lot going on there that you may never know. And so from the team's perspective, it was a cool mission. And, we started out saying we're going in there to kill ISIS. I'm not totally convinced we didn't help create ISIS, honestly. But then we went in there and we were first we went in there to overthrow Assad, right? And we were working with people like ISIS to do it. Radical fundamentalists who hate us that we were given training and arms to. Yeah. Which I knew was going to turn against us, which we knew were going to turn against us. So we kind of stall on overthrowing the president of Syria. Is it Bashar al-Assad? Something like that? But there were some unintended second and third order effects. One of those was Russia said, oh, heck no. We like Syria. They give us access to that part of the world via ports and airstrips and things like that. We're going in. And so Russia came in on the side of Syria. And around that time, we morphed to now we're going to try and destroy this ISIS caliphate, which honestly I think we helped create. And so the Russians are like, fine, we're with you. We're trying to destroy the caliphate also and keep Assad in power and kill everybody else who's working against Assad. So what was this unintended effect? Giving Russia more operational experience, letting them test out new toys, building their relationship with Syria, making it stronger, and, oh, by the way, Iran. Now Russia has better ties with Iran, who are bad for us. Make no mistake, Iran is bad for the U.S. And so now Russia has better ties with them. And so we start winning against the caliphate, the ISIS caliphate, through the efforts of the special forces and the United States Air Force and certain other governmental agencies. And so we did start winning, and then Trump declares we won, which is ridiculous. It's just like George Bush saying we won, whatever he said, mission accomplished. Remember that one, you older people? It wasn't. And so all this is going on. Back to the special forces guys. When, special forces guys, we're very capable of fighting all on our own, but we're not very many. And so the way special forces is typically used is we go find other people and we train them well enough and equip them and let them think they're leading themselves, assist their leadership to accomplish our greater objectives. And that is what we did with the Kurds. The Kurds are primarily Muslim. There are some Christian Kurds. But as Muslims go, they're pretty cool people. They're not radicals as far as the U.S. is concerned. They sort of like us, although I wouldn't ask any of them today. Because we have screwed them over about 3 times now. We left them high and dry. We went in, I think the first time we armed and trained them surreptitiously to help overthrow Saddam Hussein, and then we left them high and dry and pulled out, and Saddam Hussein started gassing them. And we just, not our fight, whatever. Which is why you never want to cut a deal with OGA. They'll leave you high and dry. And so we screwed them then. Then we did some big relief effort what was that one called? Special Forces flew in helicopters of food and airplanes of food to them because they were being just oppressed by Saddam Hussein greatly. But it was mostly just humanitarian aid. Around that time we developed the humanitarian aid ration. It looks like an MRE sort of. But then we just left them high and dry to get killed. And then we just did it again. So here's what the deal is. We used the Kurds to fight ISIS. We trained them. They have a good fighting spirit. I remember they owned, and we let them own, the northern third of Iraq when we were in there fighting. They do want to create their own Kurdistan. World War I, we redrew the lines of the world countries, and somebody forgot the Kurds, and so, Turkey got this, Iraq got this, Syria got this, Iran got this, and in there is where the Kurds have always had their own homeland, and they didn't have one, odd man out. And so they've always wanted one, and you can find a map, just do a map search of Kurdistan, and you'll see that what they want for Kurdistan includes a little bit of Syria, good bit of Iraq, and they've made it bigger, a little bit of Iran, and a third of Turkey, which is no small country. Yeah. So you can understand how Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, doesn't much like the Kurds who want to take a third of his country. All right, so here's these Kurds, we're helping them, they're helping us, they're supporting us greatly to kill ISIS in Syria and other things, kill Saddam's troops in Iraq. We arm them, we equip them, we train them. The SF guys really like the Kurds. The Kurds are warriors, unlike most Arabs. They fight, they stick, they're good. They're good people. And Trump, so then Turkey says, all right, we're going in. We're going into Syria because basically it's becoming an uncontrolled state. It's a free-for-all in there. And we're going in to wipe out this portion of the Kurds that have just been newly trained, newly armed, better equipped. Because if we don't do it, they're going to strengthen this whole Kurdistan. They've got a couple groups of people. They're like any other resistance group, which I'm going to next. Where there's different factions within it that all have the same general idea, but they fight against each other too. And they said, yeah, we're going to go in there and wipe them out, or they're going to strengthen the whole Kurdistan movement. And so they're coming across the border into Syria as I speak. And Trump ticked me off and a whole bunch of other people by saying, we're pulling out, we're pulling back, Kurds, you're on your own. Bye, see ya. Okay, here's the deal on Turkey. Turkey's a member of NATO. Turkey is not our friend. We should have never let Turkey into NATO, number one. Turkey has a powerful military. They're not, I'm not afraid of them, but they have a powerful military, and they can be a regional force. Turkey has been talking to Iran lately. Now, they have different kinds of Islam, Sunni and Shia, but they've been talking. Are they getting along or are they not getting along? Are they going to cooperate for one thing or not? I don't know. You heard that the Iranian Special Forces just did an unannounced exercise on Turkey's border. I think what that really is, honestly, is you'll have to look at a map, but as the Turks come into Syria, a lot of Kurds are going to squirt out. They're going to run away. There's going to be refugees and things like that. And I think Iran wants to make sure they don't come into Iran. I think that's what they want to make sure of. That's probably what that exercise is. But who knows? Because Iran likes Syria, and Iran doesn't want Turkey to come into Syria, create a foothold, and stay. So Iran's worried about that. And Russia's an ally of Iran and an ally of Syria. Where do they fit? Where does the Iran, Syria, Russia triad fit vis-a-vis Turks move against the Kurds, but also move into Syria? It's just really interesting. I'll tell you, the Special Forces guys on the ground in Syria are ticked. They're unhappy campers. What do soldiers do? Soldiers obey. That's what soldiers do. So they're doing that. They've pulled back to the points they've been told to, but they are not happy because those Kurds are actually their friends. They like them. And they like them because they respect them. And the Kurds on the ground know that, but that doesn't really help you, right? So that's going on. Turkey's coming in. We had a bunch, thousands, I think, of ISIS POWs in a prisoner of war camp thing that the Kurds were guarding. And Turkey just shelled it, artillery. Now, are they trying to kill those guys, or are they trying to blow the walls down? That's kind of the thing what they're thinking, is they're trying to just do enough damage to let them all escape. Because ISIS doesn't like the Kurds, who've been killing them in great numbers, and so that kind of becomes a force that Turkey can use. It's becoming a mess in there against the Kurds. Our ally, our NATO ally Turkey, Erdogan, the president, just said, Europe, if you don't give me sanction to do what I'm doing, if you speak out against what I'm doing here in Syria, an invasion of Syria, I'm going to release 3.5 million Syrian refugees into Europe. How's that EU thing working out for you guys? So there's a big old mess brewing there. The Russians don't like the Kurds, but I think they're mostly ambivalent towards them. The Kurds weren't really fighting against Assad. They were fighting against ISIS, who was also fighting against Assad. Right? So the Russians don't like ISIS. I think the Kurds were useful to them, but they're not like allies with them. But they don't want Turkey coming in and taking over a chunk of Syria, unless they cut a deal with Turkey. Very complicated. It would be a good time to be in intelligence in that area. It'd be fascinating. So that's what's going on there. Stay tuned. So you have all these factions swirling, which is a great place for intelligence operatives to work. Pit one faction against another, as long as you have a general overall strategy that makes sense. I'm not sure that we always do. Let's switch gears to a different part of the world, South Africa. South Africa, which was under apartheid forever, where the whites ruled South Africa and the blacks were kept in a very low estate and treated badly. Whites were not most of the population, were a definite minority in that country, and they ruled it. And it was the best country in Africa by standards of economics, quality of life, blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, we came out hard against the regime in South Africa, the white regime, and I didn't give them any wiggle room. And so it collapsed, and the majority took over, under the terrorist Nelson Mandela. And their country has become a crap hole since then because different people are in charge. The whites still, by and large, own most of the functioning businesses and farms which feed the nation. And the blacks, because these are the terms they use, and it is where the lines are in the country. I know it sounds kind of and to our American ears, but it's whites and blacks. And first of all, these blacks that are there, they were never there when the whites came there. They came afterwards. So they're not the original people. It's not like we're talking about the Cherokee here. They came from outside South Africa in. Same time the whites came from outside of Africa in. So they're all newbies. And they've been there longer than we've been here in our country. The blacks have started land appropriation. They're taking land without compensation from the white farmers and giving it to the black workers. And they have black workers because that's how it works, and they don't pay them well, whatever. I get it. But they're saying, all right, white people, you no longer own this farm. It's not yours. Leave. We're giving it to your workers. Very communistic, right? How do you think those farms are doing that they've given over to the black workers who work there, who know how it works? I mean, the workers know how the farm works. They fall into pieces. First thing they do is go in and rob all the copper out of it. Then all the copper wiring and piping and everything, and then they don't work it. And it goes into disrepair and they're falling apart. Well, there's more and more of that coming. It's not even an undertone in factions of the South African government. We're going to kill all the whites. Uhuru. Night of the Long Knives. We're going to kill them all. There's a genocide's already started happening. As they kick these guys off their land, they don't let them own anything. I don't care where you go, but you can't leave the country. Ooh, yeah, they're doing that. You can't leave the country, but you also can't live here. What do you want us to do? Die. That's going on, and the writing has been on the wall for a while. There's a genocide, a real hard genocide coming of whites by blacks in South Africa. And what do you hear about this in the United States press? Nada. Zero. Zilch. And so most of the whites in South Africa are clueless. And they're whistling past the graveyard, and they're thinking, no, that won't happen. It can't happen, even though all these things are happening all around them. There's actually a campaign to kill white farmers, and they kill them brutally. They rape the women and kids, 3-year-olds, then they torture them to death and move on. And then no white can come to that farm. It's now a black farm. And they're doing this in huge numbers. Plasmoorde, like farm murders. And so it's terrible what's going on there. And again, we don't hear about it. If it was reversed, it would be on the news every day. And so, on the one hand, blacks are killing whites in large numbers, but that's fixing to uptick largely, and it's genocide. You know you're on film, right? And on the other hand, I just lost my train of thought. Looking at my beautiful wife. On the other hand, the more whites you kick off the farms and out of the businesses, the worse the country's going to do. It's going to become a huge problem. Look at Zimbabwe. They're begging. They did the same thing. They kicked all their white farmers out. They're begging their white farmers to come back. Please come back. for whatever reason, the black Africans can't govern or run their own country. They just can't. There's a reason sub-Saharan Africa is like it is, and you're just not going to fix that. So that's going to become a world's problem when everybody's starving. So to that end, some people are waking up in South Africa, and they have formed groups, and there's a bunch of them. It's kind of like, and the reason I'm hitting this right now, it's similar to what's going on in America. You know, you started out with the, what was the Operation Vampire Killer 2000 or something? Jack McLam was like trying to get law enforcement officers to obey the Constitution, and then that morphed into something else. There's a name for the organization which escapes me, but it's basically, hey, law enforcement and military guys, keep the Constitution. Do those things. And then, you know, you see the 3%ers, right? And they're like, we need to restore a constitutional republic. And the rise of the militias, which are starting to come back up again, because they see the writing on the wall for this country. And, you know, they work against each other, and, you know, they all bang their chests and say we're better than them, and they're not serious enough, and they're radicals, they're going crazy, they're not going to do any good. You know, you have the whole spectrum, right? We're just in the infancy of that. In South Africa, it's getting pretty full-blown. And there is a major group, and I have put their videos here before, and we're going long, so I'm going to wrap this up. I have put their videos here before. It's called Syidlanders, and it's spelled Suidlanders. I think you can find them on the internet, Syidlanders.org, I think. And they're operating at a national level, and they have high-level people. We're talking like CEOs and stuff like that, people, high-level people that are in their organization, and their plan as much, they build themselves as the world's largest civil defense organization. Their plan, as they discuss it, as they reveal what they reveal of it, is to assist white South Africans to escape at the last minute, which I have a problem with, where they're living now as the Night of the Long Knives is fixing to happen and kill all the whites. And they're gonna, I think their plan is to go out into the veld, into the prairies, and establish survival encampments or whatever, which is huge. They're talking thousands and thousands of people that they're planning for. And they have done some pretty cool exercises to that end. But again, that's only with a small minority of the people. But at least they're doing something. And they put out in South Africa information on preparedness. You know, have these things, be ready to roll, join with groups. It's like, you know, home watch or neighborhood watch on steroids. You know, they have really good bug out plans. And so they're trying to help the people while at the same time not be declared an illegal organization by the South African government and totally shut down, right? And so they've got to tread that thin line, and their time is limited. Eventually, they will be labeled as terrorists. So they're there. They're pretty mild, but they're big and they're thinking it through, and they're the best hope I think the South Africans have. At the same time, you have these other groups popping up that are very almost Nazi-like, and they're very racial. And they're like, you know, it's time to fight. It's time to draw blood. Blood is coming. Let's start this fight. I get it to a degree. I would rather go on the offense than be on the defense. But you don't go on the offense when you're one dude sitting in your living room, you know, spewing, let's go get 'em. Call yourself a general or something. You know, it's like, come on, guys. But they're kind of fighting against each other. To that degree, I have no idea. I am not a South African guy. I have no idea what the current South African intelligence services are like. But I'll tell you, if that was in any kind of Western country things going on, those radical groups, like America, would be infiltrated by agents of the government and agent provocateurs and dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. That happens here. You don't think Antifa and the Proud Boys and the 3%ers and Patriot Guard and all this other stuff is infiltrated? Come on. Of course it is. But that's going on over there. It bears watching South Africa, whether you're white, black, yellow, green, or blue. Because if you are a freedom-loving person in America, and you are kind of a constitutional republic supporting kind of person, probably a person of faith, conservative values in general, our time is coming. And again, it doesn't matter what color you are. It's not about that here. There it is. But the interesting thing is, you've got these forces of communism and evil. I mean, just evil. They're evil people who happen to be black. Okay? In that context, they are. Are there evil white people there? Of course. Were there? Of course. And then you've got these whites who, in the main, the ones who are organizing now are people of deep faith. And they really just want to be left alone to farm and sell their produce to the country so the country doesn't starve. Go figure. Anyway, it's worth watching to see how that develops. You can probably get your own lessons learned from it. I've gone long. Clearly we're back at Shofar Mountain. Had a good trip. All right, that's enough. Interested in your comments. New people, welcome. Hey, I don't allow links in the comments. No links in the comments. I need to work up some kind of welcome letter for new people, but we got a lot of new people lately, so welcome. Keep it cool. Be nice to each other. Go back and watch old videos. All right, I'll see you out there.